The forest was quiet. Tall blue trees reached high into the sky. Their thick leaves blocked most of the sunlight. Strange sounds came from deep inside, whispers, growls, and soft steps on the wet ground. Somewhere in that wild place, an alien woman moved slowly, holding her child close to her chest. She was weak. Her skin was pale green, covered in dirt and small cuts. Her long black hair was tangled. Her clothes were torn. She hadn't eaten in 2 days. Her feet hurt, and her body shivered every time the wind touched her skin. Her child, a small girl with soft purple eyes, was even weaker. The little one hadn't cried in hours. That scared the mother more than anything else. A child should cry. Silence meant danger. They had been left behind. Her tribe called her useless. They said she brought bad luck. They said her daughter was cursed. So when the group moved, they left her in the forest, alone. Now she didn't know which way to go. She stumbled forward, pushing through tall grass and thorny bushes. Her breath was short. Her legs were shaking. She looked up at the sky, but the sun was gone, hidden behind dark clouds. Rain would come soon. She needed shelter. Finally, she saw a fallen tree. Its hollow trunk had space inside. She crawled in, holding her daughter tight, and lay down on the cold wood. Tears fell from her eyes. Not because she was afraid to die, but because her daughter didn't deserve this. The little girl was quiet, her head resting on her mother's chest. Then came a sound. Crack, a branch snapped. Close, too close. The woman froze. She held her breath. Her heart beat faster. She didn't dare move. Something was out there. Something big. Another sound. Thump, thump. Heavy footsteps. Slow, careful, getting closer. She reached for a sharp rock she had hidden in her belt. Her fingers shook. She wasn't strong enough to fight, but she would try. She would not let her child be taken. Then she saw him. A shadow moved between the trees. Tall, broad, 2 legs, a figure. It wasn't an animal, it was a man, a human man. He wore a dark jacket with many pockets. His pants were covered in mud. He had strong boots and gloves. On his back was a large bag. In his hands, a strange weapon made of metal and wood. He looked like a hunter. The alien woman gasped. She had heard stories of humans. Dangerous, wild, killers. She raised the rock, ready to protect her child. But the man stopped. He didn't attack. He didn't shout. He slowly crouched down, placing the weapon on the ground. Then from his bag he took out a small bottle. He opened it and rolled it across the ground. Towards her. Water. Clean, fresh water. The woman stared at it. The man pointed, at it, then to her. His face was calm. Not smiling, not angry. Just watching. Waiting. The woman didn't move. But her daughter did. The child reached out and touched the bottle. She looked up at her mother with hope in her eyes. The mother grabbed the bottle and opened it. She sniffed it first. Then she poured a little into her hand and let her daughter drink. The child smiled. Then she drank too. She looked at the man again. "Why?" she whispered. He didn't answer. He didn't understand her words. But he reached into his bag again and pulled out food. A small wrapped pack. Something soft and warm. Bread. He placed it near the log, stood up, and took a few steps back. The woman looked at the food. It smelled real. It smelled good. She took it, broke it in half, and gave it to her child. They ate like they hadn't eaten in weeks. The man watched silently. Then he walked to a tree nearby and sat down. He started to make a small fire, using dry sticks and a silver tool. Sparks flew, and soon a flame danced between the logs. The woman stayed inside the fallen tree. She watched him with wide eyes. She didn't trust him yet. But he hadn't hurt her. He had helped. Night came. Cold winds blew. The fire kept them warm. The man stood and looked at the woman once more. He slowly took off his jacket and gently placed it near the entrance of the hollow log. Then he stepped back again. She didn't move, but her child crawled out, picked up the jacket, and brought it back inside. It was warm, soft. The mother wrapped it around her daughter. She looked at the human man. He sat down again, his back against the tree, eyes watching the dark forest around them. And for the first time in days, she felt safe. The forest was alive at night. Strange lights blinked in. The trees, tiny insects with glowing wings. Far in the distance, alien birds cried out like whistles in the dark. The cold wind carried smells of wet earth, old roots, and danger. The alien woman didn't sleep. She sat beside her child inside the hollow tree, wrapped in the human's jacket. Her daughter was finally warm, safe, breathing slow and soft. But the mother couldn't close her eyes. Not yet. She kept looking at the man, the human, who had built a fire and now sat on a rock near it. He hadn't spoken a word, not a sound. He just listened, watched, waited. He looked like he belonged in the forest. His clothes blended with the trees. His body didn't move unless needed. Even the animals seemed to respect his presence. None came near. Who was this man? He hadn't asked anything. Hadn't come close, hadn't touched her or her child. He gave food, water, warmth, and then silence. The woman thought, why would a human help me? What does he want? Suddenly the man's head turned. He stood up. His hand reached slowly for the metal bow he had beside him. Not rushed, not loud, as if he already knew what was coming. Then she heard it too. A rustle, a low growl. From behind a nearby bush, a pair of glowing eyes stared back at them. Forest stalkers. Beasts, with long bodies, sharp claws, and razor teeth. They hunted in silence. Fast. Deadly. Even soldiers from her tribe feared them. And now, one of them was here. Watching. The human moved, not with panic, with purpose. He lifted his weapon, pulled something from his belt, a long, sharp arrow, and loaded it with quick fingers. The woman held her breath. Twang! The arrow flew like lightning. The stalker didn't even get to scream. It dropped without a sound, but another appeared. And another. Soon there were three. One jumped. The human rolled to the side, fast as wind, and stabbed it in midair with a knife that had appeared in his hand. Blood sprayed across the leaves. The woman clutched her child. The last stalker circled behind him. Fast, clever, but so was the human. He tossed dirt into the fire, darkening the light, then vanished into the shadows. The beast growled, confused. Suddenly, a rope snapped from above. The last stalker was caught hanging upside down, trapped in a net of wires and hooks. The forest was silent again. The fire came back to life as the dirt burned away. The human stepped back into the light, not a scratch on him. The woman stared at him in shock. Even warriors from her tribe couldn't fight like that. No panic, no mistakes, just silence and skill. He saw her watching, but again he said nothing. Instead, he walked to the trap and dragged the dead stalkers into the bushes. After a few minutes, he returned and added wood to the fire. Then he sat down again, as if nothing had happened. The woman whispered, You're not just a hunter." He didn't answer, but he opened his bag and took out something small, a crystal vial with glowing liquid. He pointed to her child and held it out. She didn't understand. He came forward slow, calm. She moved aside, letting him check the girl's forehead. The man opened the vial and poured a drop on her tongue. A second later, the child let out a soft sigh. Her eyes opened, clearer, stronger. The alien mother's eyes filled with tears. She's better." The man nodded once, then stood up again and walked away to repair a trap near the trees. The woman looked at her child, then at the human. She still didn't know his name, or why he helped them. But something inside her heart changed. Not fear, not doubt, something close to trust. She didn't know where he came from, but she knew one thing. As long as he was near, no beast, not even this cursed forest, would touch her child again. Night returned, darker than before. Thick fog crept between the trees. The wind had changed. It no longer whispered, it howled. Even the bugs had gone silent. The forest was holding its breath. The alien mother sat close to the fire, her child asleep beside her, wrapped in the human's jacket. The flame danced weakly as if tired too. Reed, the human hunter, was out there again, setting traps, watching the shadows, listening to the silence. The woman didn't like how the forest felt tonight. She looked up at the trees and saw things moving, branches shaking when no wind blew, eyes blinking from the dark, and then she heard it, a low sound, not a growl, a chant, far away, like voices, rhythmic, deep, not human. She stood and picked up a long stick from the fire. The child stirred. Something was coming. Suddenly a scream cut through the forest. It was loud, sharp, and not human. Then another, and another. Reed returned, fast and silent. His face was calm, but his eyes were sharp. He picked up his bow and handed her a smaller blade made from bone and metal. "Hold this," he said. His first words. The woman nodded, heart racing. Out of the trees they came. The night beasts. They were not just animals. These ones had armor, bone plates covering their shoulders and skulls. Their eyes glowed red. Their claws scraped the earth. Their breath steamed in the air, 5 of them, all surrounding the fire. The woman backed up. She held her child behind her and gripped the blade tight. The beasts didn't attack. They waited, as if they were smart. Then, from the trees, one more came. Bigger, scarred. This one wore a necklace made of bones. It stood on 2 legs, almost like a man. It growled, but also spoke in a broken, guttural voice. "Leave, forest. Yours no more." The human didn't flinch. He stepped forward, bow raised. The leader beast snarled. "You kill many. Hurt. Back. Now, we kill you," Reed replied in a low voice. "Try." The leader beast roared. The others lunged. Chaos broke out. The woman pushed her child behind the log and stood her ground. Reed moved like a ghost, arrows flying, each one hitting perfectly. One beast fell. Another came from the side. Too fast. The woman screamed. But, instead of running, she stabbed. Her blade pierced the beast's leg. It screamed and turned on her. Before it could strike a flash of steel, Reed's knife cut across its throat. Blood spilled. He grabbed the woman's arm and pulled her close. "Stay behind me." The fire roared higher. Smoke filled the air. Another beast jumped from above. Reed dropped to one knee and fired straight upward. The beast fell mid-air. The ground was covered in blood, ash, and broken traps. Only the big leader remained. It growled, angry, hurt. It charged at Reed, claws wide. The human didn't dodge. Instead, he stepped into the charge, grabbed the beast's jaw, and used its own momentum to slam it against a tree. The tree cracked. The beast twitched. Then, silence. It was over. The woman couldn't speak. The child peeked from behind the log, eyes wide. Reed walked slowly back to the fire. His shirt was torn. Blood covered his hands, not all his. He sat down. Calm. Like nothing happened. The mother stared at him. "You fought like a warrior, like 10 warriors." He looked at her. "I fight to protect." "Why?" she asked again. He looked at the child, then back at her. "One reason," he said softly. "No one protected me." She looked at the firelight dancing in his eyes, and for the first time she wondered, what kind of world could make a man like him? Morning came with golden light. The trees stood still, almost as if the forest itself was tired after the long, Night. Birds began to sing again. The fog slowly pulled away. It felt quiet, too quiet. The alien woman sat beside the fire, her daughter asleep in her lap. She looked at Reed, the human hunter, who was fixing his bow with careful hands. His arms were scratched, his shirt torn. Yet his face remained calm, like nothing had happened. She had so many questions. Finally, she asked, "Who are you really?" Reed didn't speak at first. Then he said, "Just a man who never found home." The woman tilted her head. "You live here, in this forest?" He nodded. "For a long time." She paused, then softly asked, "Why?" He didn't answer. Instead, he stood up and pointed toward a narrow trail hidden behind thick vines. "Come," he said. They followed him carefully, the woman carrying her child, stepping over roots and ducking under branches. After a short walk, the trees opened into a small clearing. There, hidden beneath rock and moss, was a crashed escape pod. Its metal was rusted. The side was broken. Vines had crawled inside like they wanted to swallow it whole. The woman gasped. "You came from the stars?" Reed touched the metal with quiet hands. "Ship crashed 7 years ago. No rescue, no contact. You were alone?" He nodded. "For a long time. I hunted to eat, fought to live, learned to listen. The forest doesn't speak in words, but it always warns you." The woman placed her hand on the pod. "You survived all this? By yourself?" He nodded again. "No one came for me, so I became like the forest. Quiet, hidden, sharp." She looked at him differently now. Not just a hunter. Not just a protector. A man shaped by pain, hardened by silence. "I thought humans couldn't survive in alien wilds," she whispered. "Most can't," he replied. "But I wasn't raised soft." He walked toward a small stone pile nearby and brushed leaves off the top. Underneath were tools, blades, traps, carved bones, and something strange, a small wooden toy. She picked it up. "This?" Reed's face changed slightly. "I made it for a child I never met. My wife was pregnant when the ship left Earth. I never saw them again." The woman froze. "I kept fighting because I wanted to live long enough, in case they came looking." She said nothing. Then, after a long pause, she placed her sleeping daughter into his arms. He didn't move at first, then slowly held the child close, like she was something breakable. The girl stirred, then smiled. In her sleep, the woman whispered, "Maybe someone did find you." They returned to camp before sunset. The woman began to help more. She gathered firewood. She cleaned a path around the log. Reed showed her how to tie knots, set traps, and identify safe plants. In a way, he began to teach her the language of survival. She was smart. She learned fast. One day, he showed her how to fire a bow. She missed at first, then again. But the third time, she hit the mark. Reed gave her a rare smile. Just a small one, but it meant something. The child laughed. It felt almost like a family. But peace never stays forever. That night, while they were resting, a loud roar of engines tore through the sky. Metal shadows flew above the trees. Ships. The woman's eyes widened in fear. "It's them. It's my tribe." Reed stood, grabbing his weapons. "They're looking for you." "No. They're hunting me." As the ship circled overhead, the woman looked at Reed. "Will you run?" she asked. He shook his head. "No, not this time. I already lost one family. I won't lose another." The sky turned black as the alien ships hovered above the forest. Their engines rumbled like thunder. Bright white lights cut through the trees. The birds fled. The animals vanished. Even the wind held its breath. The woman held her daughter close and stepped back behind the log where they had once hidden from wild beasts. This time it wasn't beasts. It was her people. The tribe that had abandoned her. They were coming back. But Not for rescue, not for mercy. They had come to erase her. Reed stood still, staring at the sky, bow in hand, muscles tense. He had no fear in his eyes, only cold focus. "Hide with the child," he said without looking at her. "I'm not leaving you," the woman replied. "You must. They will kill you both." She didn't move. "I won't hide again," she said, firmly. Reed looked at her, really looked this time. Then he gave a slow nod. "If they want to fight, they'll get one." The ships landed outside the clearing. The sound of metal feet echoed between the trees. 6 alien warriors in thick armor stepped forward. Their weapons glowed blue. One of them, a tall female with silver skin and gold tattoos, walked ahead. She carried a long electric spear. The woman gasped. "That's Captain Velra, my cousin." Reed raised his bow but didn't fire. Velra stared at her with cold eyes. "So, you didn't die." The woman stepped forward. "You left me to. You gave birth to a cursed child. You broke the old laws. You were weak. You were useless to us." She trembled, but held her ground. "Then why come back now?" Velra pointed to Reed. "Because he interfered, he touched what was cast out. That is a crime." Reed spoke calmly. "I didn't find trash. I found a family." The aliens laughed. "Humans," Velra sneered. "Always. Playing heroes." Reed's eyes sharpened. "Do you really want to see what a human hero looks like?" Without warning, a trap snapped from the trees. One of the soldiers fell into a pit of spikes. The others raised their weapons, but Reed was already moving, a blur in the trees. The forest came alive. Ropes swung down, knocking weapons from hands. Hidden spears shot up from the ground. Smoke bombs burst from branches. The aliens began to panic. Velra shouted, "Fight! It's just one man!" But that was the problem. It was one man, and it was enough. Reed dropped from above, kicked a soldier, to the ground and rolled away before the others could aim. He moved like a shadow, never in one place, always one step ahead. The woman pulled her daughter behind a tree and picked up a fallen weapon. Her hands shook. Reed yelled, "Stay down!" But she didn't listen. She aimed, fired, and hit one of the soldiers square in the chest. He fell. Reed looked back, surprised, but only for a moment. He smiled. Now only Velra remained. She faced Reed in the middle of the clearing. He stepped forward, bow lowered. "It's over. Leave." But Velra didn't back down. "I won't let my name be shamed by a dirty human." She charged. Her electric spear lit up with crackling energy. Reed blocked with his knife. Sparks flew. They fought fast, metal against steel. Every blow could kill. Reed dodged, blocked, struck back. Velra was strong, but rage made her wild. Reed was calm, focused. He ducked low, swept her legs, and pointed his knife at her throat. She froze. "Finish it," she hissed. But Reed didn't move. He stepped back. "No, I don't kill cowards." Velra's pride was broken. She dropped her spear. "I should have killed you the day you were born," she muttered at the woman. The alien mother stepped forward, weapon in hand. "No, you should have loved me. I was your blood." Velra looked at her one last time, then turned and limped away. The ships rose. The surviving soldiers followed. Soon the forest was quiet again. As the dust settled, the woman looked at Reed. "You saved us again." He shook his head. "No, this time you saved yourself." And in that moment she realized she was no longer just a survivor. She was becoming something stronger. The forest had bled. Smoke drifted through the trees. Broken traps hung from vines. The ground was marked with burns, footprints, and blood. But the war wasn't over. Reed stood in the middle of the ruined camp, eyes scanning the shadows. The woman helped him clean the wounds on his arms while her child clung to her side, silent but wide-eyed. "They'll return," Reed said. "Velra won't take the loss quietly." The woman nodded. "Then we fight again." Reed looked at her. Not with pity, but with respect. She was no longer the frightened girl hiding in a hollow log. She stood tall now, steady, ready. That night, Reed showed her everything. He led her deep into the woods, into parts of the forest even she had never seen. "This is where the real fight happens," he said. They reached a narrow ravine, hidden from air and ground scanners. Reed had built an entire web of defenses here: camouflaged nets, poison-tipped traps, alarm branches, spike pits, rope snares, even logs rigged to swing down like hammers. "This is where we hold them," he said. The woman stared in awe. "You built all this alone?" "For years. In case someone ever came hunting me." She placed a hand on his shoulder. "You weren't just surviving. You were preparing." Reed nodded. "Now I know what I was preparing for." 2 days later, they came back. Bigger ships, more soldiers. Velra was not with them this time, but the ones she sent were worse. Battle-hardened warriors, trained assassins. And among them, a giant mech-suit walker, its legs stomping through the forest like thunder. The woman had never seen anything like it. She held her child behind her. Reed handed her a bow. "Stick to the high path. Don't let them corner you." "What? About the mech?" "I'll take care of that." She looked worried. "Can you?" He gave a small grin. "It's metal. I'm forest." The ambush began when the soldiers entered the ravine. The traps activated like a dance of death. A log flew from the trees, crushing 3 soldiers. Poison darts rained from above, dropping 2 more. Ropes snapped, yanking weapons out of hands. The woman fired arrows from above, every shot stronger than the last. She no longer trembled. She belonged here now. But then the mech arrived. It blasted through the traps like thunder through leaves. Its cannons tore holes into the earth. It spotted Reed and opened fire. He dodged, rolled, vanished behind a rock. The mech fired again. Explosions shook the trees. The woman screamed, "Reed!" But he didn't answer. The mech moved closer. Smoke rose. Then, silence. The woman's heart sank. She gripped the bow tighter. Suddenly, boom, a massive explosion. From beneath the mech, the beast of steel tipped sideways, crashed into a pit. Reed had hidden below layers of leaves and mud. The woman stared in shock. Reed climbed out of a second tunnel beside it, coughing, covered in dirt, but alive. "I built that trap 5 years ago," he said. "Glad it still works." The soldiers panicked and ran. None made it far. The forest had too many eyes. By nightfall, the fight was over. Victory. The woman sat beside Reed again at their fire. Her daughter lay between them, sleeping peacefully. Reed looked up at the stars. "I think they'll stop coming now," he said. "Why?" "Because they know now. This forest doesn't belong to them." She smiled. "It belongs to us?" Reed shook his head slowly. "No, it belongs to you. You defended it. You stood tall. This is your home now." The woman looked around. For the first time, she believed him. But as she held her daughter close, something in the stars flickered, a silent ship watching from above. And though the ground war had ended, something greater had just begun. The stars blinked above the forest, quiet and cold. Below, in the heart of the wild woods, the fire crackled gently. The alien mother sat beside it, her daughter wrapped in a blanket, peacefully asleep in her arms. Reed sat across from them, sharpening a blade with slow, steady hands. His face was calm, but his eyes were watching the trees. Even after the victory, he didn't let his guard down. But something was different now. There was peace. Real peace. The woman broke the silence. "Do you still want to leave this planet?" Reed looked up at the stars. "I used to dream of it, of seeing Earth again, of walking in my city, of meeting the child I never saw." She waited for him to continue. He looked at her. "But now, Maybe I found something more real than any dream. She smiled, soft, shy but true. She looked down at her daughter sleeping without fear for the first time since her birth. This forest tried to kill us, the woman said. But it also gave us a home. Reed nodded. And it gave me something else, he added. A reason to fight. A reason to stay. The next morning, the woman did something she never thought she would do. She buried her old necklace, one passed down from her tribe. I don't belong to them anymore, she said. Reed watched her press the necklace into the dirt, then cover it with soil and place a single flower on top. You belong to yourself now, he said. She looked at him. No, I belong to something better. I belong to this family. The days turned to weeks. Together, they built a new home, a real one. Using stone, wood, and bones, they crafted a hut beside a river where clean water ran clear and fast. Reed built walls strong enough to keep out predators. The woman gathered herbs and planted roots for food. The child helped too, always laughing, always learning. The family worked as one. Reed taught the girl how to hold a small bow. She was still too small to use it, but she liked pretending. The woman taught Reed how to speak some of her alien words. They laughed often now. They slept better. They were healing. But one evening, as the sun dipped below the trees, the sky changed. Strange star began to move, fast glowing red. Reed narrowed his eyes. That's not a star. It was a ship, but this time it didn't roar with violence. It landed quietly, far away, on a cliffside above the valley. Reed took his bow and climbed the ridge alone. He found it parked near the edge of a broken mountain. Sleek, silver, human-made. Standing beside it was a woman in a black uniform. She turned around slowly as he approached. Her eyes widened. "Reed Carter?" she asked. He stopped. "Yes, I'm Commander Elise Marlowe, United Earth Recon." He blinked. "You've been missing for 7 years," she said. "We only recently recovered your old distress beacon. You were declared dead." Reed didn't reply. "We came to bring you home." Back at the forest camp, the alien woman sat waiting, heart heavy. Her daughter looked up. "Where did Papa go?" She smiled gently. "He's meeting someone." The girl frowned. "He'll come back." The mother nodded. "Yes, he always does." That night Reed returned. He said nothing at first. He sat beside the fire. The woman waited. "They found me," he finally said. "A ship, from Earth." Her hands froze. "They want to take me back. Offer medical care, debriefing everything I lost." She looked down. "Will you go?" Reed stared into the fire for a long time. "I asked them something," he said. "I asked if they would take 3 people instead of 1. Her eyes met his, and they said yes. The next morning they stood at the edge of the forest near the river. The child held Reed's hand. The woman looked at the sky, unsure. "Are you sure this is right?" she asked. Reed smiled. "No, but I know this. Wherever you go, that's where my home is." The ship lifted into the air. The trees grew smaller. The forest faded below, and a new life waited ahead. Epilogue. 5 years later, a small house stood near the hills of New Earth Colony. Clean skies, green fields, and alien flowers blooming near the porch. Inside, a little girl with bright purple eyes ran through the kitchen. "Papa," she called. "I passed my bow test." Reed smiled, setting down his tools. "Well done, sharpshooter." The alien woman stepped into the room holding a book. Her face still had the soft green glow, but her eyes shone warmer now. "We have visitors tonight," she said. "Old friends?" Reed asked. She nodded. "From the forest. Remember the hidden people near the river? They heard we survived." Reed looked out the window. The stars twinkled above. Once, he had been lost. Now, he was home. In a galaxy full of war and wild worlds, He had found peace not in steel or strength, but in something stronger, a family he never expected to love and who never stopped loving him back.